Welcome back to That Franchise Guy and another episode of my podcast series interviewing franchisors, franchisees, and everything franchising. Today, I'm really excited to have with me Devon Davidson of Mars Nation. I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what they do, but an awesome opportunity in the service industry that's growing and we're helping out. Devon, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, John. Thanks so much for having me to tell the Mars story, which is there's a lot of history here. I've been doing this a while.
Yeah, let's tell the audience a little bit about your story. How did you get into franchising? How did Mars Nation come about? Let's start with that.
So I myself bought a franchise with a cousin of mine as a partnership back in January 2002. So we bought a mobile appearance reconditioning service, Mars franchise out of Dallas, Texas. And here we are 24 and a half years later, and a lot has happened then. So I was a franchisee. Now I'm a franchisor. So there's a lot I can kind of delve in and tell you guys about how that went down. So um, the Mars franchise out of Dallas was an amazing opportunity back in 2002 that I took advantage of. And like I said, did it as a partnership to take some risks together. And that back then it was all mobile automotive based reconditioning services. So we started by working, learning like 20 plus services that we could take to car dealerships and fix up used car exterior and interior cosmetic blemishes. So that's what we started with, and we still do that today. But that is where we started our life in this industry, and just passionate about still doing that. But a lot had happened in the meantime, through the economy changes in 08, 09, shifts in the economy and some downturns in the economy. At one point, the Mars franchise out of Dallas was called Mars International, had 425 franchisees, and we were one of them. Um, I love the model. I was telling my friends and family, hey, you need to start a Mars in your area. And some did that back in the day and are still doing it. But through all that in 2012, the franchise we all bought into unfortunately dissolved. It went away, and it left the ones that really were passionate about this business. It left us kind of standing here like, I can't believe this went away. How can we had tried to help them keep it going
Right.
because we really were close with the owner and his son, and still are to this day. But in the end, they were done with it, and we end up taking it and making what we called Mars Nation Association. So we, back in 2012, me, myself, Bill Garbrandt, who's in Ohio, Kevin Kavanaugh in Pittsburgh, and Alan Farmer in North Carolina, we all just couldn't believe we couldn't let this just fall and all of us go our separate ways. So we formed Mars Nation Association, which was a buying group in 2012. So all of a sudden, that's 13 years ago.
Right.
But through that, John, we built our own relationships with the vendors we needed to be doing business with. We started gaining buying power. We secured relationships. We, did business as we knew how to do it, and just treat people right, as you want to be treated. And we invited other Mars franchisees who were in our shoes to come be a part of this and help us grow in a different way. So back then, we might have 20 people that said, yeah, I see the value in paying a little bit per month to stay a part of this. So those guys and gals are the ones that really helped us, continue to have a Mars foundation.
Right.
And, a lot of them are still with us. Some have come and gone, but they're with us enough that we all look around the room, and we're all getting older. And we're like, if we don't franchise this, where's this going to be in another 5 to 10 to 15 years?
Right.
And we had a lot of people in our ear asking us why you haven't franchised. I can help you franchise, and but it's going to cost X amount of dollars. And finally, it was about 3 years ago, 2022, probably 2022.
Yeah.
We have a friend in the business in the industry that has done franchising before, and he helped us sit down and decide to do this, to truly franchise this. And like I said, that's
Well,
3 years ago. And the first year we
well,
were just working on putting it together.
and actually, for the record, viewers, because this lives on the internet forever, we're in 2026. It's May 20th. So we're actually probably coming up on almost 4 years, right?
You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're probably coming up 4 years from us. I think it'll be 4 years this fall when we
Okay.
said, yeah, we need to franchise. And
Yeah.
then, all the work to get that set up
Right.
until we finally sold our first franchise in 2020, the fall of 2024,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah. And
Yeah.
since then we sold our first aviation franchise, which we can kind of get
Yeah.
into, this was an automotive based, like I said, reconditioning, fix the blemishes on these used cars for dealers. But along with that whole model, we started working for the general public. We have fleet. We were working for fleet accounts. We started
Right.
growing our other offerings like paint protection films, window tinting, ceramic coatings, spray and bed liners and trucks, and casket and leather kits. And we grew our offering outside of the typical.
Right.
Here's what you learned how to do back in the day to fix used car recon. We grew into, we want to be a one stop shop for
So,
not only the car dealerships but the general public.
so Mars is mobile automotive reconditioning service.
Mobile appearance reconditioning
Appearance.
service. That's
Okay.
very, very close. Very close.
I should know
Which,
that. We've been talking for months. Okay.
but that it really works with where we're going, right?
Right. Yeah. And so I think so and so you've got yeah, because I want to transition into your different verticals, the different tiers, pillars, whatever you want to call them, because you do have several different offerings now. As you developed expertise in these different niches, you guys realized, hey, we've got an opportunity to service different markets, and this should really be their own franchises, right? So talk
Mhm.
a little bit about, how we've got the how you got to where you are now. Let's talk about where you're going and what you have today and starting with just the four different verticals that you service.
Okay. I'm going to rewind a bit into where I'm at, and I own Mars of Billing. So I'm an owner of a business, and I'm the president of Mars Nation Franchising. If I didn't make that clear, so Mars of Billings was my franchise that I bought into and built with my cousin, and then bought him out, and he now does Mars of Puget Sound out in the Seattle area. But we grew Mars of Billings into this one-stop shop with not only mobile units running around doing different services, but also we have a 22,000 square foot facility in West Billings that employs 35 people. So this business has become way different than running a mobile trailer around. But we still do that. We
Right.
still see the value in the mobile piece of this business. And that leads me to when we developed the verticals, John, that you're talking about, is like, okay, there's 35 people to come to Mars of Billings every day that go do all these services, not only on cars, but on, we're hanging window films in commercial buildings and homes. We're up at the airport working on aircraft, polishing things, detailing things. We're working on semis, boats, equipment, all sorts of things. So it's like, how do we sell the Mars Nation franchise? It's too much. Like,
Right.
okay, you have to have a building, you have to have 10 to 20 to 30 people. That's the hard part, getting the people that know how to do this and trained right. So we really wanted to scale it back to, this opportunity needs to fit an owner operator who really wants to get involved and own and operate his or her own business, and then they can grow it if they want to. Believe me, there's guys that started when I did that never hired one employee, and they still are running a mobile van, loving life.
Right.
And so that's what we like about this is we can teach you to grow a business with all the people and the things and the buildings, or you can just run your mobile vehicle and run a couple of them, hire a few people, or not. So
I,
that's how
I,
the verticals came is, okay, we got to split this up in
yeah.
the industry specific, because a lot of what we do is we're reconditioning things, making them look better, and we're protecting them, whether it's your house, your car, your boat, your plane. So Automotive is huge. It's a big part of what we do. So Mars Automotive franchising is real. We can hook somebody up with that. Um, we have Mars Aviation. That's the one we're really excited right now with the market of aviation, the industry. It seems like it's some buzz around it, and we have a lot of experience there. So Mars Nation Aviation is its own franchise. We can teach someone to go out and do that. You don't need a building.
Mhm.
You probably do need to hire somebody right away because planes are large. If you're going to go do a wet wash on a the Gulf Stream or something, a big
Yeah.
G550, you can do it by yourself, but there's a lot of man hours in that. And then we also looked at Mars Home. Mars Home, we have a Mars Home franchisee now in Reno, Nevada. And there again, it's kind of there's something in the air with the opportunity to go into someone's home and not only protect their furnishings with window film so they don't get the UV rays damaging and fading out their furnishings, but we can cut some heat, cut some
Yeah.
glare, give them some privacy. And then we're also protecting appliances and putting coatings on glass shower doors so they're easier to clean. So all of a sudden, Mars Home become its own deal. And then the final vertical is Mars Marine, which is obviously boat related, kind of also can be related to some RVs and recreation stuff. But
Yeah.
um, certain markets have more of that than others. So someone really can get in and focus on the vertical they're most interested in.
Well, and what I love about this is there's almost something for everybody, meaning you can get started for a very small investment when you start looking at the world of franchising. And I know we'll get into that in a minute, but um, it doesn't take a lot. If you just want to get started, be your own boss, there's an avenue for that. If you look
Yep.
at it and say, I love what you guys are doing, I'd love to be you, Devin. I'd love to have a couple trucks out doing mobile, and I'd love to have a 20,000 square foot workshop and warehouse. And how do I become that? You can help them.
Mhm.
And if they say, well, I'd like to get into all of your spaces, you can help them. So I mean, obviously the investment levels go up when you start talking about scale, but you don't have to have that to get started. If you do have it, maybe you can get up and running and bigger dollars a little faster. But I do think it's good to know that, hey, you've got this path. And just to be clear, there's four. You got the path
Yep.
with automotive. You guys have multiple examples around the country, been doing it for a long time.
Yep.
For private private folks, owners of their cars, high end, medium end, maybe not too many low end ones. But I also
Mhm.
love the fleet and dealership angle on that. And then you've got aviation, which, as you pointed out, really seems to have gotten legs. There is buzz around the country around aviation, and you're not typically putting contracts together with American or Delta, right, and servicing
Right.
737s. This is
Mhm.
regional airports or a portion of the bigger airports where you're dealing with private commercial, or I guess be small commercial aircraft or privately owned aircraft typically, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I love that again, it's not just cleaning, but it's full on, protecting and reconditioning.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I saw something about that's interesting about aviation that people probably don't realize. Um, but when you start talking about the controlled environment on the inside at 30,000 feet, um, mold can go pretty quickly, I guess. And at least that was something I was seeing. So to get these things really cleaned for people who have million or billion dollar investments is really important. There's a market for it, and they're willing to pay you for
Yep.
it, and they're willing to pay you now at a premium, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a matter
Yep.
of if it gets handled. It's like it has to, and you need it now, and they'll basically pay you whatever you charge, right?
And they need a trusted source to do it right because there's
Well, of
definitely
course.
a lot of automotive detailers trying to get into the market, which is
Yeah.
not nothing wrong with that. But there's just a way to do it, and there's do's and don'ts for their aviation for sure.
Well, and I think that's important for people to understand too, that, hey, you've got experience and you will hold their hand through the process, show them how to get in, who to talk to, and how to, start building those relationships. Um, and then as you get into the Mars home, I think just to be clear, folks, that's not you're not maid services, right? You're not detailing the
Right.
home. This is really focused on more the protective aspects. And
Yep.
and
Protect your investment.
yeah. And as you go across this spectrum in those three spaces, there's multiple franchises. Well, I think I only know one on aviation, but there are multiple, auto detailing and certainly multiple brands who are helping with window coverings, window protection,
Mm.
window films, and things like that. Um, and so they absolutely weren't their own space within Mars, I guess is my point. And Mars
Yep.
Marine, I think yeah, that at the end of the day, 10 years from now, we might be talking that could be the biggest one, at least on the coasts and on the south, or maybe up there near the
Yeah.
Great Lakes. But you think about especially in saltwater, but water does a lot of damage and needs to be cleaned, and so I think there's a lot of opportunity with that. So those are your four, different niches, folks. You've got, the automotive, you've got the aviation, Mars Home, and Mars Marine. Um, and so let's talk a little bit about, and I didn't mean to steal your thunder or anything. I just wanted to make sure we were clear
No.
on what the different things are that somebody who's watching this, who's thinking about a franchise could be considering.
No, we
So,
appreciate you understanding and helping explain that too. So yeah.
well, it's, I've done 40 or 50 of these, and not that I think I'm any good at it, but I've been around the block a few times. So, um, but let's talk a little bit now, and certainly if we missed anything, we'll go back to it. But let's talk a little bit about Mars Nation, what you and your team brings to because I think it's a unique. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years, uh, talked to hundreds of, maybe over 1,000 franchise founders and owners and leadership teams. And I've never come across a group of former franchisees who stayed together, built something special, and then turned it back into a franchise that they're supporting with their blood, sweat, and tears through their knowledge of what it's like to be a franchisee. And so I think it's a unique story. I really, obviously touch on that, but let's talk about the people who are looking at this video thinking, they're thinking a burgers or hair salons or a sign company or whatever.
Mhm.
Why Mars Nation?
I think it first, John, it starts with family. Mars, in my grandma's mind and words, said, make all relatives successful. Because as I got into this 24 years ago, I was so passionate, still am about it. It's been my life. And she saw that. And then all of a sudden, I'm telling my cousin about it in Minot. I'm telling a cousin about it in, Willis, North Dakota, a friend about it in Great Falls, Montana. And these people are jumping on and deciding to take this leap with me and doing their own thing within the Mars group. So it's a family. Like my mom still works at Mars Billings part time, greeting customers and taking care of our team and doing all sorts of things that she's in a irreplaceable position because she brightens up everybody's day here. So you come to Billings to where we're at, where Mars Nation is headquartered, you're going to meet my mom, Mama Mars. So it's really about our family. I mean, the people that are part of our group are truly family and friends, and that's what we're looking for, is more people that see the value in what we bring and who we are, because we're real people. We're small town people.
Yeah.
If you look at where our franchises are, they're not in big cities. There's opportunity in big cities where we'd like to be, but we're just basic people that love what we do, and I think that's what someone maybe is not used to getting in the
Right.
franchise world. I mean, there's a lot of good people, a lot of great franchises, but we've been there. We were franchisees. The four of us that lead this, Bill, Kevin, Alan, and I, were franchisees. We understand what it feels like to be on that side, and we're still all running our own businesses, so we can relate to that as well.
Yeah, no, that's so again, another huge takeaway. And to your point, there are different lanes within franchising that are going to be for different people. So if you
Mhm.
are very, very structured, very regimented, you like the idea of plugging into 1,000 location space like a Midas or something like that, where, or, with McDonald's, I mean, those guys aren't going to give you
Yeah.
any room, right? This is the marching orders.
Yep.
If you stray from it, we're going to pull your franchise agreement. Um, and there's a place for that. There are people that feel
Yep.
comfortable there. And I think it's important to understand with Mars, what you get is you're getting trained by the founders, by people who've done it for
Yep.
20 years, or 20 plus years. You're getting becoming part of a family. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think it's important as you go through this process to understand that Devon and Kevin and the team, Bill, are all Alan, I don't want to leave him out, are all looking at you. How do you fit with our family? Right? I mean, this
Yep.
is important. We're not just accepting everybody who comes on board or wants to come on board. You have to fit with the culture of the organization both ways. So I think
Yep.
it's important for people who are considering this that you like the idea of joining an organization like this. Like, you know, what happens if I have a bad day, make a mistake? Uh, Stuff happens in business. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to come up with a good example. You can pick up the phone and call Devon. I mean, right? I mean, you'll
Yep.
take the call. Your door's open, or
Yep.
any of the guys, and I say that generically. I mean, not just guys, gals, whoever, will answer the phone and help you out. Even Mama Mars. And so I think
Yeah.
that's right. I think it's important that people know those distinctions are there because there are some, there's not a ton of data points when you're talking about a franchise that's small like yours. You're joining a family, you have to believe in the team and you have to feel good about the
Yep.
team. And there's a role and a lane, I guess is the best word that I used for both. So I think
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I love the family franchises. I love the ones where you're in what you guys bring to the table is huge in my mind. So um I know we kind of transitioned in primarily around the family aspect. Are there other aspects of maybe not just Mars, but the industry, people who might be looking at it
Yep.
saying, you know what, I like the idea of not necessarily having a brick and mortar. I like the mobile aspect or home-based aspect. I like the idea of getting started, 100, 150 grand thereabouts.
Hmm.
And I'll let you correct that number if I'm off. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but as people look at that, they think, why what Mars does versus, a home services business or a B2B services
Yeah.
business or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've worked so hard to secure great relationships in our industry throughout these verticals. And a partner who's involved in every vertical is Expel. We have worked a really sweet deal out to be partnered with Expel. We're exclusive with them through our locations. And what that means is many benefits come with that, from extra training sessions per year per location to better buying power to being able to put our services of our Expel products and services in our markets. So that's a big thing. We've worked on that for a long time. So that's one of our major partners that we worked on, and I've been working with those guys since 2007. So I've seen, Expel's publicly traded. I've seen that company go from a team of 10 people to a publicly traded worldwide company.
Right.
And I could sit and talk to the CEO today and text him. And, so it's just great there again. They're a family of ours that has really grown,
Yeah.
but they still are family to us. So anybody joining us gets that automatic in with them, which not everybody can have. So some of the stuff in our industry is that, partners like, Expel and Cat Skins and Mil Spec Bedliner, another family owned great bedliner company that is growing, and they're just regular real people.
Yeah.
So we've got great partners. We have some great buying power. Not only our polishes and compounds and different products we use to fix vehicles, but even accessories, add-on accessories. We're doing a lot of builds still in this day, taking new vehicles at dealerships and making them just different in the way that customers want to see them. So we're helping dealerships do that, as well as people who come through our doors. So just the industry partnerships
Yeah.
that we have are very valuable for someone joining us.
What kind of things for somebody who's thinking about a business like this? And I know it would vary a little bit depending on which niche or which vertical we're talking about, but um, what does an average day look like for somebody in this business as an owner?
So if you're gonna start with just say our automotive vertical,
Yeah.
um, you're going to be, unless you decide you have a brick and mortar already or you want to rent one and want to start in a building, we're going to start you in a van. So you're going to have, a Ford Transit van or something like that that has our cool wrap logos on it. Inside's decked out with everything you need to go, starting with the dealerships. There's still a big demand for our services at car dealerships.
Yep.
Some of those dealerships may already have someone or do some of this in-house, but not all of it. So we're still, I would say pounding the pavement at the dealerships,
Yeah.
servicing them, not only on fixing up their used cars and making them look better. So if you get an approval to go inspect their used cars at a Chevy store, you're going to do that every Tuesday, the same time every week. And we have software that we work with our company so you can scan the VIN, write up the vehicle, recommend services. You can take pictures of it. Some of the managers want to come out and look at the cars with us. Some literally want to look at their computer and look at the estimates that we've already written up because they can find out where they're at in these vehicles. So on the automotive franchise, we're gonna hook you up and try to get you working with car dealerships like we have forever and find some work there. And then on the side of the dealers, we're also servicing their new cars. So if
Yeah.
you go into that Ford store and you buy a new Ford F-150, they might ask you in finance or in sales, hey, would you like to protect your new F-150 with our paint protection film package? And our goal is to be the one behind the scenes putting that paint protection film on for that Ford dealership. So not only working on the used cars, but they're selling our protective products, our bed liners, or our films or coatings, tint, window tint, things like that. So the ideal day would be, in
Yeah.
your mobile van, stopping at dealerships and servicing them. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, the dealership's going to say, hey, can you call my friend up the street? He or she needs a bumper repair or a paint chip, or hey, they need window tint,
Yeah.
you know? So you might be saying, well, where do I tint their car at? If you don't have a building, you're going to have to find a place inside typically to tint that, but you can tint it in the garage at their house. You can tint it at the dealership. And as you do more of that, you're probably going to want to get a building, right? You're going to, if there's a big demand in your market to put on films, protective films, coatings, and tint, you're going to want to have a shop someday.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, we're going to teach you how to do it, teach you enough to be dangerous to be able to figure your market out and figure out what services are needed and which ones do you like doing. Believe me, when I started, I was taught how to do paintless dent repair out of all the 20 some services. It's a very hard service to be good at right away. It takes a lot of years of practice. So I met dent guys in my market that I referred the dents to them and did the rest of it. So that's an
That's
automotive day, if that makes sense.
yeah, and we don't have to knock them all out, but if you're talking about aviation, I imagine it's similar. You just swap out dealership, right, and swap in airports, right? Yeah.
Yes, because you're not going to have someone bring airplane to you.
Right.
You're going to go to the airport and you're going to have to, there again, pound the pavement, go meet the fixed operations directors,
Yeah.
customer service people at these FBOs that are the ones getting asked by someone who's flying in there, hey, who does your detailing who can clean my plane today?
Right.
You want to have your name and number and card in their hands to get that card. So we have connections through the aviation industry. We can't promise to get you in every airport. You're going to have to be out there doing that. We actually have our first official aviation franchisee out of Phoenix, and his name's Osman, and he is just getting started, and he's making those relationships. Some of those relationships started with
Mhm.
the current MARS relationships we already have in other markets that have a friend of theirs or a connection. Some of these FBOs have multiple locations
Yeah.
in multiple cities, so it's
Well,
just a slow process to get in.
and
um,
and just to be clear, you guys have experience. Is it Kevin that has the aviation? Who's the
that is, so we have a lot of aviation experience here in Billings, and then one of
okay, you
our
too. All right.
operators, Mars of Bozeman, so Marty
Bozeman.
Hopes.
Oh,
I
okay.
trained Marty 14 years ago today. Marty's start date is 14 years ago today, starting
Wow.
in automotive. But within 4 years, he had a big opportunity in Bozeman to start working on aircraft.
Okay.
So the last 10 years, close to half of his business is aviation detailing and polishing and stuff on airplanes. So Marty's actually one of our trainers. So if
Perfect.
someone signs up to come to Mars Nation to do the aviation franchise, a week of their training will be in Bozeman, and a week will be here in Billings.
Okay. That was, and so I'm glad we clarified that because my point was, while your first official franchisee is in Phoenix, and if you're in Phoenix, unfortunately, I believe you took the whole market, folks. So,
He
um,
did.
but but you have somebody who's got years of experience and built a model that you have been able to replicate around
Yep.
aviation. So, yeah, I think that's, when you look at where you guys are and what your opportunity is, it's easy to say, oh well, there's just automotive guys, but you've really got experience and created all these other niches and verticals around your other your learnings, if you will, and I
Yep.
think that's you can't just look at this and look at it as a single. You have to look at all four opportunities and what they bring. So I think we've probably gone way long on time, and I'm sorry, folks. I usually try and keep this under, 25, 30 minutes, but I think this is fascinating, and there's a lot more to tell to the story. And in order to get that, folks, you're going to have to go to thatfranchiseguy.com or reach out to on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn/ that franchise guy. Reach out to me and I'll give you the additional details. We'll get you set up to talk to Devon and the team and learn more
Mhm.
about the brand opportunity, franchise opportunity. So with that, Devon, let me throw it back to you for what did I forget? What did we not get a chance to cover? Take another minute or two just to make sure we hit the highlights. If there's anything you want to cover or reinforce, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we've come a long way in whatever minutes we've been on here, and it's a lot of history to share in a video.
Yeah.
But we were so happy to meet John and him to take us on to tell the world about who we are and what we're doing. So, like I said, we're just real people, having a lot of passion and doing what we do. If you want to, start a business and be an owner operator and be connected to a team like us, whether you want one of these verticals or you want all four, we're willing to work through with you. Like John said, we're as structured as we are, but we're pretty, I don't, the word's not laid back because we're serious, but we're easy to get along with, and we're looking for people with integrity, right?
Yep.
That's who we are. We got good core values here that we want those that come and join our team. You're going to represent our brand, and that's a big deal. We've built up this brand over the last 24 years, and we've really had to work on it through the first franchise dissolving because that was a challenge. So since 2012, we've worked even harder to continue to build it up, and we're looking for some people that want to be a part of it
Yep.
because I think right now we got about 18 locations. If you look at the marsnation.com and look at the locations, you can see all 18 locations, see the verticals they're doing. But there's a lot of opportunity, John, like we've talked,
Yeah.
in a lot of places in the United States. So
Well, I think thank you for that. And I think as we wrap this up, if you're watching this and you're thinking, hopefully this just screams at you, if you made it this far in the video, it should. There's a lot of splashy sales promotional stuff on the internet with the people you'll deal with in franchising. They're going to try and sell you all kinds of stuff, whether it's in this space, other space, or whatever. There are these franchise sales organizations, and I work with some of them. They're really good at selling, and they're really good at prettying things up. And I think that the key takeaway, if I could funnel it down to one thing, and I know I've told you guys this, is you guys are genuine. What you see is what you get. Um, it's not going to be easy, but you're going to be there to hold their hand and help them start a business and be part of the family. I think
yep,
again, not looking to put words in your mouth. That's my words from being a little bit of a third party looking in and having gotten to know you guys a bit, my impression. So
yep. Hey,
hopefully you're comfortable with me sharing those words.
That's, you hit the nail on the head. Thank you for sharing that, John. So
You bet. Well,
yeah, excited about this.
thank you so much for joining me today. I've been wanting to do this video for a bit, and I'm glad we connected on it. Again, if you want to learn more about Mars Nation, any of the four verticals they're in, meet Devon, any of that kind of stuff, start with me. Reach out to John at thatfranchiseguy.com or any of the platforms I mentioned before where you can find me. And thank you so much for joining us today. I'm always honored and humbled when people take the time to watch my videos. Thank you.